On this episode of Zoo Tours, we're going back to the bright, beautiful, and humid Zoo Miami. So far, we've gone through Australia to learn about dingoes and wombats, literally crawled through crocodile waters and jumped on a fan boat through the wilds of Florida. And today, I will be your guide through what might be the best the zoo has to offer, Amazon and beyond. In my Zoo Miami breakdown, I very subtly compared it to the Houston Zoo's newer award-winning Pantanal exhibit, which I call the best South American themed attraction in the nation. But I may have spoken too soon. Amazon and beyond may not be as realistic, but the diversity in both the environments and animals presented is unmatched. It's home to over 110 species, which is why this tour will be split into 3 separate episodes. Before we begin, I'd be as happy as one of these jaguars if you press those like and subscribe buttons if you haven't already. Then I would like all of you to get the comments going and name a zoo exhibit you think I may have seen, and I will give you my honest, unfiltered thoughts on it. If you're walking from the Amazon to the zoo's main entrance, you first have to pass through a line of wild pigs, also known as the Warthog Crossing. Zoo Miami is mostly defined by very large, lush, moated enclosures, and these 4 habitats continue that trend. There's warthogs, red river hogs, warty pigs, and babirussas. Even though it's not this big, giant, organized attraction on its own, I think it's really cool to have an area dedicated to just pigs, because I literally cannot name another zoo in the country that does this. Before the arch that hides King Kong, there's the Village Square, a large hardscape plaza. It houses a gift shop, food court, splash pad, and for the low price of $7,000, it can be yours for just one night. One thing about Florida's zoos is there's not a whole lot of indoor attractions compared to most states. That includes herpetariums, so it's normal to find reptiles and amphibians viewable from the great humid outdoors. The plaza kicks off the Amazon with the green basilisk, Orinoco Crocodile hatchlings that I'll actually get to in part 2, and next to Texas horned lizards that can build enough pressure behind its eye to squirt a stream of blood mixed with biochemicals in the face of its predator. And the zoo is working hard to boost their numbers in the wild. Now it's time to actually dive into this 9-acre slice of the Amazon. One little criticism it had is that it wasn't lush enough, but that's exactly why visiting a newer exhibit and waiting for the plants to grow a bit can make all the difference in the world. And now it's so dense, it's easy to get lost, especially if it's as misty as a cloud forest. What's a cloud forest? It's a forest perched up so high that it literally touches the clouds. When the summit goes over the mist, it looks like it's surrounded by water, which is why they're sometimes called islands in the sky. The one in Miami starts with golden lion tamarins, a small, swift monkey capable of landing vertically on tree trunks. Unlike a lot of primates that have digits and fingernails like us, tamarins evolved claws on all of their digits except both toes. When they have the pleasure of living with one of the loudest animals in the world. A black howler monkey's large hyoid bone that's in their throats serves as an amplifier, kind of like a Siamang gibbon, but with way more boom. It's about as loud as a jet engine taking off, and as if Darth Vader joined a screamo band. And I thought we were about to hear it, but...
What's he doing?
Oh, he's yawning. No. Howlers and zoos don't do a lot of howling, but there is a soundboard guessing game. Hear the voices of the jaguar, keel-billed toucan, a harpy eagle, macaw, and the black howler. You don't have to experience it, there is a bypass path, but if there's a walk-through aviary, no matter how big or small, I'm always there, even if it doesn't have hummingbirds anymore. At least it has cool-looking turtles. Alright, so almost everyone, almost everywhere has thought the only way I'm getting through this day is if I get that 5th cup of joe, but be careful, you could be killing birds. A lot of coffee and chocolate is grown in South America, some grown in full sunlight where forests are cut down in order for it to grow, and this method is unsustainable, but coffee and chocolate raised in existing forests is sustainable. It may take longer for the product to grow, but it's less harmful to wildlife, including birds. Sun-grown equals bad, shade-grown equals good. Next time you think about harming wildlife just so you can wake up a little bit, look for these symbols before buying your burrito. So about Florida zoos not having a lot of indoor attractions, especially herpetariums, well, Amazon and beyond has one of those. It packs a lot of bite, and you might even say that it's legendary. The building first grabs your attention with the legend of Quetzalcoatl, whose name basically means feathered serpent. a deity in Mesoamerican culture associated with wind, wisdom, arts, and creating the world. One legend tells us the world was created and destroyed 4 different times, and Quetzalcoatl took a trip to the underworld, picked up some human bones, blended them all with his own blood to create new life, and thus became the father of a new humanity. It took me a second to figure it out, but the centerpiece is an encased, fully detailed 3D model of all 3 sections in Amazon and beyond. If only every zoo did this for their major exhibits. As for the scales and the slime, there are 16 total terrariums, each more detailed than the next. And don't worry, we're not going to take the time to get to know all of them. Uracoan Rattlesnakes, Brazilian Lancehead, Mexican Cantil, and several color morphs of the Eyelash Viper. The Snake Station tells us just a couple of ways that venom is used to help people and treat heart failure and high blood pressure. The teeth make you grateful that the ones attached to living snakes are behind glass. And we actually just saw something similar to this in another episode. A live feed of you, giving you an idea of how pit vipers sense heat on cool nights to find prey. The other side of the building offers a lot more variety, putting you in between towering habitats that face one another. Collared tree lizards on one side and a drop-dead, gorgeous tiger ratsnake in the other. Moving along, we have the Alligator Lizard, and whoever was in charge of naming them, good job. That's definitely an alligator lizard. Same with the person that came up with the common name for frogs. Panamanian golden frogs, which are actually toads, have been disappearing from their mountain forests at a rapid rate since the late 90s, thanks to a little bit of a fungus problem. They're definitely one of those animals that needs to be in zoos to survive. Fortunately for everyone, they're becoming a lot more popular, and it seems that they're fairly easy to breed. The microfauna representing the west side of the building might give you the heebies and the jeebies, but to me the reptile room's standout creature is the Anaconda. I know that baby snakes exist and all, but it looks a little short for being the world's heaviest snake. The color is a little off too. That's because this is a yellow anaconda, a little smaller than their green cousins, which we'll actually see later. But 9 to even 15 feet long is still something to brag about, especially when they can take down prey that's even bigger than them. Speaking of taking down things that are bigger than you, around the corner is just one of a few things in South America that literally can tackle any problem. The Jaguar weighs between 120 to 210 pounds, get up to 6 feet long, and will dive at just about anything they can get their paws on and anything that it can fit its jaws around. A lot of zoos that display the world's 3rd largest cat only usually give them 1 public space, but Miami was gracious enough to give them 2, with an underwater viewing in the second one. Not like they care what I think, but this setup avoids one of my biggest pet peeves. The 2 enclosures are connected by an overhead tunnel, and at the time, both animals had the option to explore both spaces. There's just something about one-way overhead chutes that drives me nuts, and yes, I am crazy for caring, especially since jaguars are solitary outside of mating, which according to my calculations, they would have had a cub by now. So they can walk right above you while you walk in between them. The side views are obstructed a little, positively obstructed I should say, by 4 total layers of bamboo stalks. It gives the cats a little extra sense of privacy, and even though I had to try out a few angles, this is where we got our best shots. A seemingly fitting end, but don't go anywhere. You need to hear about how more of your actions could kill more birds. The first aviary talks about avoiding certain kinds of chocolate and coffee. This one warns you about the wildlife trade. Millions and millions of birds are trafficked illegally and transported in not so good conditions. And the zoo says about 30 to 90% of them don't make it through transit. Whether that's an overall number or it refers to per year or per month, it's still bad. According to this exhibit sign, dogs are even being trained to sniff out any suspicious packages that may or may not contain animals or animal parts. And if you plan on buying a bird, at least ask the supplier where they got them. Going back to those reptiles and amphibians, just let you know we've barely put a dent into their collection. Blue rock lizards, emerald tree boas, dart frogs, and rainbow boas are in the walls. And we're going to end our tour with a large closed top but open fronted enclosure. And just like Jacksonville does, they mix freshwater stingrays with caiman lizards, an amazing climber and an even better swimmer. Even though the cloud forest, Islands in the Sky could be an amazing exhibit on its own, we are only 1/3 of the way done with this Amazon. This is where I will leave you for now, but remember to stay tuned and be on the lookout for part 2. Stay wild and thank you all for watching Zoo Tours.